It's a sports prediction game. That's essentially what it is, okay? So right now in Pooky, there is one sport, and that's football, okay? But in the future, there are plans to bring in loads more sports into the game. But for now, you can predict on football games all around the world in Pooky. And this is the really important part, is that the difference between almost Pooky and going on a place like William Hill to do your predictions, right? Is that Pooky's not a bookmaker. They're not a bookmaker, okay? So they're not the house, okay? Like if you were gonna go to a casino, you're not playing against Pooky. You are playing against other players, other people like you that are playing Pooky, right? It's a PvP game, okay? And Pooky run the game, they operate the game, but they are not setting odds. They're not setting the prices of anything, of any of the points that you can potentially win, which we'll get to in a minute. You're not going up against Pooky. They have created a sports prediction game using the power of Web3 that allows you to predict on football games without actually losing money. And the way that that works is you buy a Pooky ball, which is how you make the predictions on Pooky. And we're going to explain those in a minute. And the Pooky ball is an NFT with utility, okay? So it's a digital asset that exists on the blockchain, okay? And once you own it, once you have one, you own it forever. Very similar to what we cover on Sorare, right? Where if you own a Sorare card, you own it forever. You can use it in competitions in the game. It's the same kind of premise on Pooky. You own a Pooky ball, you can then use it in-game, in the competitions, to then try and win cash rewards, right? And the great thing about Pooky is that when you have a Pooky ball, and if you make a prediction on a football game in the actual game itself, right? You don't have to be 100% correct to win, okay? With a bookmaker, you have to be 100% correct to win. If 1% of it, or if a tiny little part of your prediction is incorrect, you don't win anything, right? It's an all or nothing type of game when you're playing traditional kind of sports betting, okay? On Pooky, big difference. You don't have to get your prediction 100% correct.
To the real world.
Even if you have some of your predictions, partially correct, you are still going to win points, okay? And these points at the end of a game week are all totted up, they're all summed up, and it's the actual points total at the end of a game week that then determines whether you win money or whether you don't win money, okay? And notice how I said you either win or you don't win. There's no you either win or you lose, because you're not staking, you're not wagering money every time you're predicting as you are with traditional sports betting, right? Remember what I said, if you bet on Feyenoord to win and they don't win, you lose the money. You've staked money and it hasn't come off, you've lost that money, right? If you then go and do another bet on William Hill or whatever bookmaker it is, you have to again put some money up front to say, this is how much I'm going to put on the table to try and win more of that money. I'm going to try and use my own money to make more money, right? If you don't get it 100% correct, the bookmaker says, thank you very much for your money, see you later, right? Or come back again because we love taking money off you. Pooky is completely different because you actually have an asset that you are using in competitions as many times as you want throughout the duration of how you own it, right? For however long you own it. So it's not a case where you are predicting and you're putting money down. It's not like that. You simply own a Pooky ball, and that Pooky ball is then your entry ticket to be making predictions for the rest of your life, right? For the rest of your life, as long as you own that Pooky ball, you can make as many predictions in as many different leagues as you want to There's an energy system, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. So there's a little bit of a limit to how many that you can predict. But essentially, once you own a Pokeball, you have free license to be predicting in competitions in Pooky to make cash rewards. And when you don't win, you don't lose anything because you're not staking any money to make the prediction. You've already just invested in the Pokeball and that's it. That's all you've done. That's where your money's gone, in something that you own, okay? These are the Pokeballs, which are the in-game digital assets which you're going to own, which you are then going to be able to use to play the game, to put your predictions down, and to hopefully win some great rewards from them, okay? There are 4 Pokeballs right now that you can buy directly from Pooky that cover every type of player, every type of budget, okay? There's technically a 5th Pokeball, which you can't buy, but you can create, okay? And that's a higher scarcity Pokeball than the legendary one. We're going to come to that later. That's a little bit more of an advanced topic. It's not something that you really need to know about right now. So let's keep it nice and simple. That for now, there are 4 Pokeballs that are available to get involved in to start playing the game. And you can see them on the screen here. We've got the entry-level Pokeball, okay? So if you're just looking to get involved in the game with the lowest level of financial commitment, maybe you're a budget type of player, maybe you just simply don't have, more money to spend, or maybe you just think, okay, I want to check it out, but I don't necessarily want to go too hard to start with. I might increase my investment in it later on, but I just want to have a Pokeball to start playing so that I can try and compete for cash, right? Any one of these Pokeballs can play for cash, okay? So you don't need to have a legendary one. If you just get one common, that is enough for you to start playing Pooky, using the Pokeball to make your predictions on the football teams and the leagues, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And that will allow you to start winning cash rewards, right? So what you can see, if we just run through it, is that the commons, which are the entry level point in the game, these are, of course, going to be the most common in the game, right? Hence the name common. They make up 76.8% of the total supply in the game. And what you'll be able to see, if you go back on this marketplace page here, you can see that there are currently 7,000. So only, right? This is really important. 7,012 sounds like a lot, okay? But 7,012 is actually not that big. That's still a relatively small supply in a global game, right? If you consider Sorare, for example, Sorare has millions, and I mean millions. I think it's like 5 or 6 million cards in the game, okay? At the moment, there's only 7,012 Pokeballs in the game, which is fantastic because this is a game that's still very much in its growth phase. And if you can get in whilst there's still very few in the game, then you're going to have a great chance to do well in the game too. But we'll come and talk about that a little bit later, okay? So at the moment, there's 7,012 in the game total, and 76.8% of that total is made up of common Pokeballs, right? Rares only make up about 18% of the total supply, so significantly lower. In fact, actually, it's roughly around 4 times lower. And then the epics themselves are, again, about 4.5 lower in scarcity. So the epics are much lower there. And then you've got the legendaries, which only make up 1% of the total supply, okay? So if you have a legendary, there's going to be very few others out there that also have a legendary. If you have a common, there's going to be a lot more people out there with a common, okay? But the commons are also going to be, there's almost going to be a lot more variation with how you can build a common Pokeball. And that's something that we haven't even got to yet. That every Pokeball in the game is minted, right, on the blockchain. So it's created on the blockchain, and it's minted differently. So every Pokeball in the game is unique. There's not a Pokeball in the game that is exactly the same as another Pokeball. And that uniqueness comes from some of the attribute points, which I'm going to get to in a minute. It also comes down to how the Pokeball looks too. So every Pokeball is completely unique, and we're going to explain why. So supply-wise, that's the breakdown of how many you can expect in the game, and the supply breakdown of like how many are so prevalent and how many are so like scarce, right? Every Pokeball at every different rarity has a different max level, okay? So the way that you almost need to think about Pokeballs is like a character in an RPG game. Your character starts at 0, and your character might be a certain class, for example, that you've chosen, okay? And that class will have strengths and weaknesses, and it will start off with different starting attributes, okay, based on its class, right? And then as you play with that character more and more, they're going to get more experience, right? And as they get more and more experience, you're going to be able to level them up. So take them from like level 0 to level 1. And then before you know it, after you've done more and more quests in that RPG game, your character is then at like max level, whatever that is, right? And then it's just a case of then trying to see if you can take them past the max level in a really clever way that's a feature in that game, for example. Or do you then try and maximize the gear that RPG type character has? And it's a little bit similar here, where every different type of Pokeball has a different max level. So if you have a common Pokeball, then the maximum amount of levels that you can upgrade it to is 40, okay? For rare, it's 60. For epic, it's 80. And then for legendary, it's 100. So the higher up you go, the more levels you have. And it's really important because the more levels that you've got, then technically the stronger your Pokeball can get, okay? Right? So let me bring up a Pokeball. I'll bring up my collection so that you guys can understand it a bit more. I have both rare and common Pokeballs in my collection. So let's just click on this one here. This is a common, and it's a level 0 common Pokeball, right? So I've not upgraded this past level 0 yet. Okay, you can see that I've used it a little bit, but it hasn't gone. I haven't had enough XP yet to level it up past the basic level that I got it at. Okay, and when I got this Pokeball, the attributes here are assigned randomly based on the attribute points. Let's just go back here. Based on the attribute points that Pokeball would have got. So for the common, you've got attribute points of, say, 50 to 90. So depending on what the Pokeball was actually minted with on the attributes will then determine the types of bonus that I get here, the boost that I get. And this is kind of quite important, actually, this variable attributes, because when you use your Pokeballs to make predictions in the game, you are predicting on, you're actually predicting on 3 main outcomes, right? You're predicting on whether it's going to be a win, draw, or a loss, okay? You're also predicting on whether it's going to be over a certain amount of goals or under a certain amount of goals. And then you're also predicting on the exact score. So there's almost 3 core components to how you predict in Pooky. And the key is that you try to level up the attributes here. So this, you can see home, draw, away. You can see we've got over 2.5 goals, which is 3 or more total goals scored, and under 2.5, which is under 3 goals. And then the score is the exact score, okay? So this is almost like 1, home, draw, away. The over and under is almost the second part. and then the exact score is almost the third part. But there are 6 attributes in total that you can focus on to build up. And the great thing about Pooky is that even though they're randomized at the start, so I've got a Pokeball here that just happens to have a plus 9% additional boost to any scores that I get where the home team has won. The great thing is that I might not want this to be super high. I might want the draw to be the highest, okay? And so as I level up this Pokeball, every time I level it up and I get to the next level, it's going to unlock what's called booster points, right? Which I can spend to increase my attributes in any way that I see fit. So I can spend the attribute, the booster points on home, on draw, on away, on over 2.5, under 2.5, or score, right? So if I really want to boost one particular area, I can do it. Or if I want to boost a couple of different areas, I can do it too, right? The flexibility is yours to customize the Pokeball how you want to, okay? Which is, I think, amazing. I think it's really cool. There's also a mechanic now in the game. Let me show you. There's a mechanic in the game. So once you get to, I think it's a certain level, you can then start to re-roll your attributes. So let's say, for example, that you have a ball that is this, right? A level 58 ball. And initially, when you started to assign and spend the points to increase your attributes in certain areas, you were putting it mainly in home. But then you're now at a point where you maybe don't want to be predicting on home as much, or maybe your thinking has changed. Maybe you made a mistake where it sounded like a good idea at the time, but then the more that you've predicted, the more you've realized that actually with the Pokeball that you're using, you need to be able to have a bigger points boost on under 2.5, for example, in the leagues that you're mainly predicting in. But this is the only Pokeball you've got, and your under 2.5 is really, really low for the boost, right? Well, in that case, there's a really cool feature which allows you to re-roll. So this is also a game mechanic and a feature that's in loads of RPG games where you get to kind of the high levels and then you can think, okay, this was a good build when I first started out playing the game. But as I played the game more and more, my thinking's changed. The way I play the game is different now. And so my Pokeball just doesn't really work as well as what I want it to. And I need to be able to reassign the points that I've already spent and just like reallocate them in a completely new way. And the game now allows you to do that. Well, prestige is kind of important in the game because when you have a higher prestige value for your Pokeballs, it collectively gives you almost like a collection score. You know, like on Surreal, where you get a collection score for like how many points collectively your collection has amassed, right? It's almost like that. It's almost the equivalent of a collection score, where when you look at your Pokeballs here, so if you end up having more than one, you will have this kind of prestige score in the top right, okay? And it's almost like the higher the prestige score you've got, then the higher quality your collection is. But it's not just a prestige value for bragging. So it's not like you say, oh, my prestige is like 100. So I've got like an amazing set of collection balls, or my balls are amazing. It's not like that. There's a part of it that is that, but the most important thing is that when you have higher prestige to your Pokeballs, it will give you extra energy. Now, we haven't talked about energy yet, but we are going to talk about energy in a minute because the energy is also described here. And getting extra energy, right, is really important in Pooky because energy dictates how many predictions you can make with your Pokeball in a single game week, okay? So the higher the prestige value you have on a Pokeball, the bigger the multiplier you get from that Pokeball, and that in turn allows you to earn even more and more energy. So if you have a legendary Pokeball, it's going to give you ×8 prestige multiplier, which is going to allow you to get extra energy, a lot more extra energy, a lot quicker. What is energy? How do you get it? And how does it work? Well, when you start the game today, right, and you have no Pokeballs whatsoever, apart from the rookie Pokeball, which we are going to get to, so don't worry. But if you were to start the game today, everybody who starts the game starts off with 100 energy. And you can see how much energy you have. It is this lightning. It's this like lightning symbol here, right? This is your energy. You can click on it if you want to, and it will show you your total energy, okay? At the moment, it shows that I have 13 left over, but my total is 247. But everybody starts with 100, okay? Everybody starts off on the same level with 100, and that's if you don't have a Pokeball. When you get a Pokeball, so let's just go back here to the compare Pokeballs, right? When you buy or when you have and own a common Pokeball, the common Pokeball will give you an additional 6.8 energy, okay? 6.8 energy. So if I started the game today, right, and I had no Pokeballs whatsoever, I would have 100 energy sitting there in my balance that I could use to predict in the game. Every time you get a different Pokeball or another Pokeball, it will increase your energy. So if I then got another, if I had 2 common Pokeballs, of course I'm then going to be getting 6.8 times 2, right? 13.6, which is the same as if I would have actually just got 1 rare Pokeball, okay? So the rare will give you an additional 13.6 energy to your total. The epic will give you an additional 27.2, and then the legendary will give you 54.4. So what you can see here is that it's double, right? 6.8, double that, 13.6, right? Double 13.6, 27.2, double 27.2, 54.4. The prize pool, so this is the total amount of POC, which is the in-game currency that you can win. Okay, this is really valuable. You need this, and I'll be explaining very soon why you need it and what you can do with it. And you've got the cash prize, effectively, that is available in total, which is 7,400 Matic, which is about, I think off the top of my head, it's probably about 6,000 pounds, give or take. So it's quite a nice amount. And the great thing with the prize pool is that the prize pool will stay the same for each game week, okay? So you get the same prize pool each game week, but the prize pool itself will increase in number based on the number of Pokeballs that Pooky sell. So it's a very sustainable model. The more Pokeballs that Pooky sell, the more that can then go into the prize pool that then you guys can win every week, right? We've seen a change recently on Sorare that's almost moved to a very similar type of model, where now, in the new format on Sorare, in order to, of course, compete for the cash, right, you need to be buying new season cards, because then the new season cards that you buy is then funding the prize pools, right? And then those prize pools can increase with the number of cards that Sorare sell. It's very, very similar, and it's been like that for a very long time, actually, on Pooky. So they've been really switched on for a while now to get their prize pools self-sustaining from the number of Pokeballs that they sell. The weekly prize pool stays the same, right, from game week to game week, okay? But it will increase based on the Pokeballs that they sell, which was just what we just mentioned, okay? but the match days vary. Now, that's important because that ties in a lot to how you strategize on Pooky. The match days, the number of match days, when that is higher, that means that the weekly prize pool has to be shared across more leagues, more match days, okay? So if it's shared across more match days, then it's divvied up more, okay? And what that means is then that essentially there's going to be less of the actual cryptocurrency that you can win in the leagues, right? Because it has to be spread across more. Now, it's not exactly like, okay, there's 7 match days, so it's like 7 divided by 7,400, right? It's not actually like that. Every one of these match days gets access to the prize pool. However, the level of prestige in the league will determine how much of a share they get from the overall pot, right? So the prestige that we talked about comes down to your prestige value, okay? So if I have this Pooky ball here, this Pooky ball has a prestige value of 6.9, okay? So if I use this Pooky ball to predict in the Argentinian league, then the 6.9 is contributing towards the overall prestige value in the Argentinian league. So the way you almost need to look at it is that the higher the prestige value for a league, potentially the more competitive that league is, because there will be likely higher level, stronger rarity Pooky balls in there, okay? But because it's then more competitive, because there might be effectively whales swimming in there, there could be some managers or players that have really high scarcity or high rarity Pooky balls in there, and maybe you're just going in with the common, then you want there to be a bigger chance for you to win big, right? So higher prestige of a league will dictate a bigger share of the overall prize pool. These two sections here do deserve a little bit of a mention, because if you are new to Pooky and you start looking at the screen, you might be thinking to yourself, well, what on earth does this mean? This over here simply means, so this number means the level of your Pooky ball, and then this is the experience progress bar. So it shows you how far you are to progressing to the next level. So this is a level 50 ball, and it's 32% on its way to level 51, okay? This one is a level 58 ball that is 30% on its way to level 59, etc., right? This here is very important to talk about, and we will talk about it now. This is a mechanic in the game that every Pooky predictor needs to know, and you need to be able to manage it properly, okay? So half of the game on Pooky, in many ways, is about managing your resources efficiently, okay? We talked a little bit about energy beforehand. We're going to come back and talk about energy soon, because there's different ways to manage your energy, and that's a resource in itself. We've also talked about the POC tokens, which is the in-game currency that you use to level up your Pooky balls, and you also use to refill the pressure, because this here is pressure. This green bar that says 88% on it and has a little pump here, this is pressure. And pressure is a very cool but very important mechanic and feature in the game that will determine how many points you can win in a game week. Now, you can understand pressure in the same way as you can understand like a real football, okay? So if you go out in the park and you take a football out with you, you start kicking about with it and playing around with it, over time, that pumped up football, the more you kick it, the more you play with it, over time, it's going to lose pressure, right? It's going to start to get more deflated and more deflated until eventually, if you don't um, pump it up, eventually it's going to become this like flat ball that doesn't even look like a ball. It's like a heap basically, and you're kicking around a half pumped up ball. We've all done it. I've done it loads of times, especially when I was a kid. You just kick around what you can, don't you, as a kid, and you just have fun with it. But when you have a fully pumped up ball is more effective to kick, right? You can then, get the better purchase on it, as in like when you kick it, you can get the better curve on it. It goes where you want it to, you get more power behind it. It's a more effective ball when it's a fully pumped up ball, right? And it has enough pressure in it, as opposed to trying to kick a football around that has had most of the air kicked out of it. It's very flat. You can hardly kick it off the ground. And when you do, you can't get much power behind it. You can't really get it to where you want to go. It's just not very effective anymore, right? And it's the same kind of concept on Pooky with that whole pressure and effectiveness of your ball. So you want to be able to make sure that your Pooky balls are most of the time, if not all the time, in the green, okay? And your Pooky balls start with a pressure of 100%, and they go down by 1% every time you use the Pooky ball to make a prediction, okay? So if we were to make a prediction with a Pooky ball from scratch, right? As in we've never made a prediction before. We've just bought our Pooky ball today. Our Pooky ball is level 0. It's got 100% pressure. If we were to make our first prediction with that Pooky ball, it will go from 100% pressure down to 99%. Okay, it goes down 1% every time you make a prediction. It doesn't change when you update a prediction. Okay, so updating predictions will not take a point of pressure off you, but making a prediction from scratch, as in like making the prediction to begin with and spending the energy, which we're going to get to soon, that will take the percent off the pressure. Okay. Now, why is this important? Why are we talking so much about pressure? It's important because there are certain thresholds and limits on the pressure that you don't really want to exceed. The reason you don't want to exceed them is because when your pressure of the ball gets low past that point, you will then start to receive minus percent deductions on the total amount of points that you can win. Okay, so it's almost like a penalty. It's a penalty because you don't have a fully or you don't have a pressurized ball. Okay, so you want to make sure that your ball is pressurized. Now, your ball will get down to the first kind of threshold. I think it's like 75%. So when your ball gets to 75%, it then goes orange on the pressure. And at that point, I think you're then getting minus 10% as a deduction to your scoring. And you really don't want to have that, right? So you need to keep your balls nice and pressurized. And that's what that means there. So it's a nice indicator to show you that, okay, this is in the green. I don't have to worry about it. But then the more predictions you make on the screen, the more you can see it's coming down. And if it's then orange, you probably need to think about like refilling the pressure. So base leaderboard and base scoring with the points you get is not taking into account any of the boosts that you have on your Pooky ball, right? Hence why you're only just getting a base score. And then the boosted is the points that you get from the boost that you have loaded up on your Pooky ball, right? And the reason that's kind of important is that when you go into, let's take, for example, the Italian League, okay? We go into the Italian League, which has 19,500 prestige. We go into it, right? Go into the rewards here. And what you'll see is that it shows you the rewards for placing high or placing in the various different positions on the boosted leaderboard, as well as the rewards you can get on the base leaderboard, okay? Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. The base leaderboard only gets about 10% of the prize pool from a match day, okay? 90% of it is going to the boosted, okay? So it's very heavily weighted towards the boosted, which is why it's almost incentivizing getting some of the best Pokeballs you can, leveling them up, getting them to be as strong as they can, because then you can actually get the most amount of money on the boosted leaderboard. So there's an incentive for you to be going out, buying the Pokeballs, collecting as many as you can, and just getting them to really high levels, right? Because then it will pay off for you on the boosted leaderboard. On the base leaderboard, this is a leaderboard that in many ways rewards the most accurate predictors rather than the players that maybe haven't done as great, but just have bigger boosts on their Pokeball. So this is almost like a purist leaderboard. You could have, for example, a common Pokeball, right? And on the boosted leaderboard, you might not win, right? Because you might actually get, say, 7 or 8 of your predictions out of the 10. You might get them 100% correct, okay? Which would be insane. That in itself would be an amazing accomplishment, and you probably would end up winning if you've done that, right? But what you have to keep in mind is that if you are very, very accurate with your predictions, you can still be outscored by people who are maybe not as accurate as you on the boosted leaderboard, because they have just bigger boosts. They're getting bigger benefits from higher rarity Pokeballs and whatnot, right? You can still outscore them even if you have a lower rarity ball. So you can, and we have seen it in the past, we've seen where commons have won the leaderboard, right? They've won the boosted leaderboard. But you've then got to be very, very accurate with your predictions. You need a little bit of luck. And you also need to be smart with how you build your Pokeball or the Pokeball that you then use in that actual competition. So as an example, let's just say that in the Premier League, in one game week, there are, let's say like out of the 10 fixtures, let's say that 7 of those fixtures see the home team win and over 2.5 goals, right? If you had a common Premier League Pokeball, right? You went into the Premier League and you predicted in that game week with your common Premier League Pokeball that the home team was going to win in every single one of your predictions that you made, and there was going to be over 2.5 goals scored. You not only predicted that, but you then also was able to get, let's say, 4 or 5 exact scores where you get everything exactly right. In addition, you've also got on that Premier League Pokeball, you've got some stickers added on that then give you bigger boosts to when the home team win, and bigger boosts when there's over 2.5 goals, right? Or maybe a bigger boost when you get the exact score. So you can already start to see that in that kind of scenario, even with a common, if you're very, very accurate, and you've also then got a Pokeball that's very cleverly built to then take advantage of those predictions that you have predicted, and it then comes off, you're then going to get some amazing boosts, which will help you to place really high up in the boosted. In the base leaderboard, you can win the base leaderboard no matter if you have a common, an epic, a rare, a legendary. It doesn't matter, right? The boosts aren't really coming into this here. So this is the type of leaderboard where if you're just very good at accurately predicting like exact scores and what the scores are going to be 100%, then you will be able to do very well in the base leaderboard. But keep in mind that the level of reward you can get in the base leaderboard does not compare as well to the boosted, right? The base leaderboard has a total prize pool in the Italian league for the current game week of 126, right? 126 Matic, which is then divided up in this kind of tier system. So if you ended up winning, you would get 14, which is very good, right? Nice little bit of money there. But compare what you can win in the base here, where if you come first, you get 14. Compare that to if you came first in the boosted, you would win 126. So it's nearly 10 times more what you could win in the boosted. So boosted is really the place to focus on. But you also get a little bit of reward if you are just very, very accurate, and maybe you just find that you haven't really been able to compete as much on the boosted. Then just focus on trying to be as accurate as you can, because then you'll at least be able to win a healthy amount from your accurate predictions on the base leaderboard. Exactly, yeah. Base is the level. Base is almost like the level playing field. So you don't have to worry that this guy has like a legendary, so you're not going to be able to win it, right? If a guy has a legendary, it doesn't come into it on the base leaderboard. Like, it's just about who is the most accurate predictor, who is the people out there that are able to win the most amount of points based on how accurate they've been with their predictions. And if you are that type of person, you are going to love claiming rewards on the base leaderboard, and you'll probably be able to claim them and win them quite consistently. If you're looking to get into Discord, if you're looking for more information about Pooky, then the Pooky Discord is full of very helpful people out there playing the game. The team are very active on Discord too. You'll find lots of threads in there that cover some basics, that expand on the basics. There's lots of announcements in there. You can also there's giveaways and stuff that they do in there regularly. So make sure that you jump into the Pooky server on Discord if you're still looking for extra information. And then the other thing that's also worth just reminding people about is the white paper. The white paper, they have a full transparent white paper on this game that everybody can access, and you can access it when you're at the main homepage here. When you log into Pooky, you scroll down to the bottom, you click on blog here, okay? When you click on blog, it then brings up, of course, their blog, where they are regularly posting updates and communication about big changes or new features in their game. So this is also a very valuable page to kind of bookmark and keep up to date. But then if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can then click on the white paper, and the white paper then really gives you the nitty gritty, the formulas and equations which are calculating certain things. You can look a bit more into the team as well. So it tells you about the team, and it gives you the links to all the guys there on LinkedIn. It tells you a little bit more about some of the new features which are coming. There's a roadmap as well. So their current focus is this mobile app, which Nick mentioned in the chat. Then after that, they're going to be looking at the tokenomics. And then look, they've got crafting. So this is what I just mentioned. So if you wanted to know more about what is crafting and how is that going to fit into the game, you can then click on there, and they've got a nice little section just outlining what their vision is and their plans are maybe for crafting at this stage, right? And it says here that they're working on this and more details will be added soon. So if you want even more, look, Ascension's also covered in here. So if you wanted to really get your head around the ins and outs of Ascension, then you can also find this information. And this is another thing that I think is amazing about Pooky, is that even when it launched, even before it was launched, this white paper was so complete with all aspects of the game. It's like they really knew exactly what they want this game to be, where it's going, how they're going to be evolving it, and they're constantly updating information in here as well. So do check out the white paper. Make sure you're on the on Pooky's Discord as well, and it'd probably be a little bit amiss as well, wouldn't it, if we didn't mention this? Go and give them a follow on Twitter as well, guys, if you can. I'll drop the link in the chat. There's the link as well for Pooky. So if you're not following them on Twitter, then please make sure that you do too. They really should have a lot more followers than 4,800. And it's just another way to keep in touch with the stuff that they're doing, any kind of announcements as well, any videos, because they're doing a lot more videos on YouTube as well, to be able to check out their videos that they do. They often post some links on them. Just really, really good, you know, really, really good. So do go and give them a follow everywhere for a bit. So thank you so much, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you very much. Catch you soon.